The grocery store monopoly. Why you're paying 30% more for food. Your cereal jumped 40%, while the maker's profits jumped 60%. Same aisle, same box, different math. On a chart, one line, profit margin, shoots up after 2020. The other, retail price, lags then follows. They don't meet again. Here's the promise. We're going to expose the hidden pricing machine that's quietly adding roughly 30% to your bill. Not inflation, not weather, not a shipping delay from 3 years ago. This is concentrated power in consumer brands and the distributors behind them. Every week you wait, you pay the toll. By the end, you'll have a personal playbook to cut costs now and pressure the system long term. To understand the trap, we need to rewind to when power shifted. The trap revealed. Who really sets your prices? A family of 4 doing a normal run used to spend around $120 a week. Now it's $160, and they're buying less. That's the stakes. Wages moved inches. Prices jumped yards. The feeling at checkout isn't just sticker shock, it's a loss of control. For decades, the story of grocery power sat at the store level. Retailers fought to keep prices sharp and aisles full. The bargaining table tilted toward the chains. If a brand pushed too hard, stores could switch facings, push private label, or replace the slot. But after the consolidation waves of the 2000s and 2010s, the leverage flipped. Fewer brand owners sit behind more of the aisle, and fewer distributors control more of the gates that get products from factory to shelf. Here's what that means in human terms. A regional chain buyer sits down to negotiate cereal. The brand arrives with national advertising muscle, data from scanners across the country, and a category plan that dictates optimal shelf layout. They're not asking for space, they're writing the map. Meanwhile, the distributor holds the keys to delivery windows, fees, and penalties if orders don't hit thresholds. The buyer can push back, but thin store margins, typically low single digits, leave little room to absorb blows. Pass-through becomes default. Risking retaliation, fewer promos, worse placement, delayed shipments, carries a real cost. What nobody knew at the time, as 2020 chaos churned, was how sticky that new power would become. Costs surged, commodities, packaging, freight. Brands raised list prices. Distributors layered on fuel surcharges and logistics fees. Retailers lifted shelf tags. But when some input costs eased, many prices didn't. Promotions stayed thinner. Per ounce math crept higher through smaller packages. That's price leadership in action. A big player establishes a new level. Others follow the leader rather than undercut. Across categories, the herd moves together. Meanwhile, slotting fees, the price of admission to the shelf, never left. Add pay-to-stay allowances. Add category captaincy, where the top brand in a category provides the planogram and advises on pricing, promotion, and assortment. It sounds efficient. It also lets the incumbent shape the rules. If you're a smaller brand or a private label trying to compete, you're now running on a track built by the person you're racing. Consumers see the chain's logo, so the anger lands on the store. But look upstream. Distributors consolidate routes and warehouses. National contracts decide which products ride which trucks. Chargebacks hit retailers for deviations, and most favored nation clauses punish attempts to offer deeper discounts elsewhere. The result is uniformity that looks like choice, different banners, similar realized margins. While that was happening in the center store, fresh departments faced their own squeeze. Processors and packers in meat and dairy concentrated, too. Farmers took on higher input costs. Farmgate prices didn't rise in step. Spreads widened by the time products hit the refrigerated case. The downstream shopper never meets the upstream negotiator, but they're connected by a chain of fees, allowances, and contracts that translate into a higher total at checkout. Here's where it gets concrete. Promotions you used to rely on, BOGOs, deep end caps, show up less often, for shorter windows, and with loyalty gating. Everyday low-price banners quietly float the baseline higher. Package engineering trims ounces while holding the sticker price. Aisles look the same, but the math per unit is different. And when one major brand signals a hike, rivals meet the market rather than fight on price, because the new ceiling lifts everyone's revenue without a costly share war. This is why chains often pass through upstream hikes. Their business runs on vendor funding, allowances, trade spend, rebates that depend on playing along. With operating margins razor thin, swallowing the increase means bleeding cash. Pushing back risks worse terms or fewer promotions, which angers shoppers in a different way. So the store takes the safer path. Change the tag, keep the ads circular tidy, and absorb the complaints at the register. From the shopper's perspective, it feels like the store is gouging. From the store's perspective, survival means staying inside the lanes set by suppliers and distributors. The real decisions happen off-camera, where data sets define acceptable price corridors and templates for promotion frequency. The net effect: a slow, coordinated ratchet across categories that turns a family's $120 list into $160 without many obvious moments to rebel. This was the moment everything changed, when pricing power moved upstream and the shelf became an endpoint, not a decision point. The visible cashier is just the last mile of a system designed to protect margins higher up the chain. And once that system locked in, prices didn't just rise, they stayed risen. The profit-cost gap, where the extra 30% hides. To see the gap, follow a dollar from the farm to your cart. Since 2020, farm gate prices spiked, then eased. Wholesale freight and packaging blew up, then cooled. But retail never really came back down. The spread in the middle, the space where margins live, widened and stayed wide. That's the extra 30% you feel even when headlines say inflation is slowing. Take cereal. In 2019, a standard box sat at £1. Today, it's 14.3 ounces, sometimes less. On the shelf, the sticker looks similar. Per ounce, you're paying more. During the crunch, commodity grains and corrugate climbed, so list prices jumped. But as grain and containerboard moderated, discounts didn't return to old depths, and unit sizes didn't revert. The brand's gross margin line, reported to shareholders, bent upward and held. The store's margin barely moved. The gap widened right where you can't see it. Dairy shows a version of the same story. Input costs, feed, energy, packaging, ran hot. Milk prices rose fast, then cooled. Yet many yogurts and shredded cheeses kept their new baseline, aided by quiet downsizing. 6-ounce cups to 5.3, 8-ounce shreds to 7. Once consumers adjusted to the new normal, promos came back, but lighter. 10% off instead of 25%, loyalty only instead of open shelf. Realized prices, what companies actually collect after promotions, stayed elevated. That's the margin expansion hiding behind a stable-looking sticker. USDA data also show farmers capturing only a fraction of the retail dairy dollar, highlighting where the spread sits. Meat is different in texture, not outcome. Packers face labor shocks and plant disruptions, so wholesale prices jumped. As capacity normalized, some cuts eased, but processed products, bacon, deli, value-added packs, kept premium price points. Trade promotions in those categories remained sparse. The result: the shopper experiences relief on raw commodity cuts occasionally, but the convenience and branded segments, the ones with higher margins, don't budge much. The basket total doesn't fall because the mix shifts toward the stickier prices. USDA's competition push in meatpacking aims to add routes and capacity to loosen that stickiness. Here's the mechanism set. First, list prices ratchet up under a cost-push narrative. Second, packages get engineered smaller, narrower gussets, thinner walls, fewer slices, so the price per unit climbs without a glaring hike. Third, promotions get pulled back. For years, brands bought market share with deep discounts. In 2021 to 2023, many reallocated that trade spend to hit earnings targets, so the shelf stayed high and the ad circular got quiet. Fourth, prices become sticky. Even when inputs cool, companies resist resetting baselines because the market has accepted the new level. Public filings in 2023 to 2024 repeatedly emphasized price/mix, gains, and disciplined promo returns despite easing input costs. You can watch it in the rhythm of the aisle. The old 6-week cycle that predictably dropped your favorite staples now stretches, skips, or comes back with weaker depth. End caps that used to scream BOGO are now 2 for $5 with card, which looks good but nets out close to the new normal. Everyday low-price banners raise the everyday quietly while celebrating stability. Unit math is the tell. Ounces down, per ounce up, promos thinner, realized revenue higher. Brands defend it with a familiar line: higher labor, energy, and packaging costs. Those were real. The question is pass-through versus hold-on. If costs climb 20% and unit sizes drop 10%, but realized prices rise 30%, the spread remaining after costs, gross margin grows. Investor updates confirm it. Many large packaged goods companies reported expanding gross margins as supply chain pressures eased. That's not fraud, it's strategy. Once price leadership sets a new anchor, followers match and focus competition on everything but price, flavors, claims, bundle sizes. Distributors enable the hold. Fuel surcharges rarely have a sunset clause. Access fees, chargebacks, and minimum order penalties remain even as diesel softens. Retailers, reliant on allowances, can't easily push for givebacks without risking promotional support. So the system defaults to inertia at a higher level. Think of it as a ratchet with a weak spring. It turns easily upward under pressure and barely releases when pressure fades. Now the part shoppers feel week to week. Promotions pulled back. During the run-up, cutting trade spend was the fastest lever to hit quarterly numbers. A coupon not offered is margin preserved. Multiply by dozens of categories and millions of shopping trips, and the savings you used to capture quietly vanish. Even when promos return, they're loyalty-gated or structured around less popular pack sizes, preserving the higher realized average. This is why frustration lingers, even as some inputs cool. The structural choices, downsizing, reduced promos, price leadership, keep the gap in place. And it compounds. Once you normalize a smaller size, the next round can shrink again without triggering a shelf reset. Each iteration keeps the sticker familiar while lifting the per unit price. The brand's margin chart reflects that compounding. Your pantry doesn't. One more layer: sticky expectations on Wall Street. Executive scorecards tie pay to operating margin and EPS growth. Price, mix, and productivity are the levers. Cutting list prices back to pre-spike levels would blow those metrics. So companies choose measured promo restoration and premiumization, new sublines at higher price points, to keep averages up. It's not a conspiracy in a smoky room. It's thousands of aligned incentives pointing the same way. All of this adds up to the extra 30% hiding in plain sight. Not in one giant move, but in many small ones that never unwind. If they can hold prices this high, what gave them that power? We need to step back and watch how the market got concentrated enough to make the ratchet stick. Consolidation engine, a short history of market power. To understand how the ratchet stuck, we need to go back to when the rules changed. In the 1980s and 1990s, regulators took their foot off the brake. The mood shifted to efficiency first. If a merger lowered costs on paper, it often sailed through. Antitrust moved from policing power to measuring prices in the moment. If shelf tags didn't jump right away, deals looked harmless. That opened the door. Meanwhile, supermarket formats were changing. Big box, warehouse clubs, and national chains scaled up. Distributors raced to cover more ground. In that era, the thinking was simple: bigger networks cut costs, and those savings would flow to shoppers. What nobody factored in was how fewer gatekeepers would later control the on-ramps to the shelf. When the economy hit turbulence, power wouldn't be shared, it would concentrate. 3 beats earlier in our story, before the sticker shock, something else was happening in boardrooms. At the end of the 1990s and into the 2010s, consumer packaged goods companies stitched together brand portfolios aisle by aisle. Cereal, snacks, beverages, household cleaning. Fewer parent companies own more of what you saw. Each acquisition bought not just a logo but shelf rights, ad relationships, and data. In parallel, private equity rolled up mid-tier manufacturers, streamlining plants and brands to sell scale back to retailers. The aisle looked the same. The name on the contract changed. Unknown to many shoppers, distribution consolidated just as quickly. Regional wholesalers merged. National players locked in multi-year, multi-category contracts. If you wanted to get a case across a state line, your choices narrowed. In food service, giants like Cisco and US Foods turned logistics into leverage. Fuel surcharges, access fees, chargebacks, and the retail side learned the same playbook. The FTC even blocked a proposed Cisco, US Foods merger in 2015, citing reduced competition in dozens of markets. Fewer logistics gateways meant more power bundled in every invoice. This was the moment everything changed on the shelf. Category captains arrived with planograms and pricing guidance. A top brand sat beside a retailer and helped design the aisle, where each product lived, how many facings each size got, when promos should land. It sounded efficient because it reduced decision friction. It also put the incumbent in the architect's chair. New entrants had to run through a maze drawn by their rivals. The data era multiplied that effect. Scanner data and loyalty cards created a nationwide dashboard of price elasticity and promo returns. Trade spend, the money brands pay to fund discounts and placement, became a portfolio managed like financial assets. Deals with weak ROI were cut. Offers shifted to loyalty gating, where the brand could target high-propensity buyers without dropping the open shelf price. That wasn't an accident, it was a structure. To see how market structure sets outcomes, look down the supply chain. In meatpacking, the top 4 processors control the vast majority of steer and heifer purchases, over 80%, and a large share of hogs, according to USDA. In dairy processing, regional players consolidated, plants and brands. In the center store, global CPGs blended overlapping categories into portfolios built for cross-promotion and bundling. The fewer hands that touch the product, the fewer negotiations that can drive price down or keep it honest. While that was happening in distribution hubs, private equity funds assembled platforms. They bought regional snack makers, combined procurement, closed redundant facilities, and negotiated national shelf access with combined volume. The gains flowed to operating margins and debt service. On the retail side, independents lost leverage because suppliers preferred the simplicity and certainty of big, national deals. The cost to serve small accounts rose, terms tightened. There was one more shift hiding in plain sight: contract clauses. Most favored nation, terms that restricted deeper discounts elsewhere. Pay-to-stay slotting fees that turned shelves into toll roads. Volume rebates that penalized retailers for experimenting with smaller brands. Each clause chipped away at a store's freedom to undercut. A manager could want to run sharp deals. The agreement said otherwise. Congressional proposals have targeted MFN and algorithmic price coordination, citing risks to discounting. In the aftermath of the 2008 financial crisis, cheap capital made deals easier. Mergers promised synergies. Synergies meant headcount cuts, plant closures, and tighter control of pricing corridors. The consumer welfare test, the old standard, looked for price spikes. But price leadership with soft follow-the-leader moves rarely shows up as a spike. It looks like drift, like the market moving. By the time anyone notices a pattern, the structure that created it is baked in. In grocery retail, for example, the FTC later blocked the proposed Kroger-Albertsons deal, 2024, on concerns about lost head-to-head competition and parallel price movement, signaling renewed scrutiny. Here's where the story loops back to your cart. Consolidation didn't have to raise prices overnight to matter. It had to reduce the number of times someone could say no. Fewer suppliers meant fewer real alternatives when costs rose. Fewer distributors meant fewer ways to bypass fees. Fewer retailers with scale meant more reliance on vendor funding. When stress hit, pandemic, freight, energy, the system leaned on the path of least resistance. Raise list prices, trim promotions, protect margins. Public cases from Cisco, US Foods, 2015 to Kroger, Albertsons, 2024, illustrate how fewer gatekeepers create pricing corridors. The irony is that many of these moves were sold as consumer-friendly. Efficiency, lower inventories, faster turns. And for years, you did get abundant choice, flavors, sizes, claims on the surface. But the real choice that protects your wallet, independent routes to market, genuine price competition, thinned out. Once the scaffolding of power was set, the later price ratchet didn't need coordination. It needed structure. And the structure was ready. The Playbook, how CPGs manufacture pricing power. Now that the structure is set, watch how the playbook runs on a single aisle. It starts with category captaincy. The dominant brand sits in the meeting, brings the planogram, and proposes what looks like science. Eye-level slots for traffic drivers, kid-level for sugar hits, top shelf for premium, bottom shelf for bulk. They recommend the number of facings per size, the cadence of promotions, even which flavors should exit. On paper, it optimizes sales for the category. In practice, it hardens the leader's advantage and starves challengers of oxygen. From there, price pack architecture does the quiet work. Instead of one box at one price, the lineup splinters: mini, family, party, value, and a premium subline with added protein or fiber. The list price steps up with each subline, but so does the perceived benefit. Meanwhile, the baseline pack shrinks ounces to hit a psychological price point. $3.99 looks steady, while the per ounce cost climbs. Consumers don't notice the gusset width or slice count. They notice the number on the tag. Here's where the map escalates. First, the list price rises. Second, promotions thin out or shift from open-shelf discounts to loyalty gates. Third, the mix tilts toward higher margin sublines through end caps and digital banners. Realized prices, the dollar's net of discounts, rise without a visible fight at the shelf. When a competitor thinks about undercutting, the captain's plan and the retailer's rebate structure make it costly. Discount too hard, and you miss volume thresholds that fund your slot. Brand moats keep the toll booth standing. National ad spend builds habit and trust. Fear of switching is cultivated. Your kid eats this, don't risk a meltdown. This one's fortified, this one's clean. Private label could compete on quality in many categories, but the captain's plan quietly caps its expansion. Fewer facings, weaker placement, and promotions scheduled so store brands don't collide with the national brand's tentpoles. The store avoids a price war that might upset the vendor funding. The brand avoids cannibalization at the low end. Meanwhile, distributors collect leverage with every mile. Fuel surcharges get added in a spike and don't come off when diesel calms. Access fees by guaranteed delivery windows, miss an order minimum, and the chargebacks arrive. Retailers become dependent on a schedule that penalizes deviation. If a store wants to experiment, bring in a regional brand, run an unscheduled promo, the logistics bill can erase the upside. Dependence isn't an accident, it's a feature. Contracts lock the chessboard. Most favored nation clauses mean if a brand offers a deeper discount to one chain, they must offer the same to everyone covered. That discourages targeted, aggressive deals that could reset price anchors in a few markets. Volume rebates back-end load the economics. Meet the annual target and you get a year-end check. Miss it and your average cost rises. Suddenly, a retailer is managing to a rebate more than to a shopper's wallet. You'll see the effect when the calendar hits Q4 and promos appear not for shoppers, but for thresholds. What nobody knew at the time, buried in spreadsheets, was how trade spend would be reallocated. The old model threw dollars at BOGOs and aisle stoppers. The new model favors digital activation and personalized offers, which raise realized prices by discounting surgically to likely buyers while leaving the shelf price high. It looks like value, $1 off just for you. But the average flown to Wall Street stays elevated. The follow-the-leader cycle closes the loop. A top brand moves list price. Rivals match quietly because a high anchor benefits them all. A challenger considers a cut, then sees the cost. Lost rebates, worse placement, and a response from the captain who can flood the week with ad support. Better to launch a premium plus variant and talk about ingredients than to cut the base price. Competition shifts to claims and flavors. Price competition goes to sleep. Here's a micro-story to make it human. A category manager at a mid-sized chain wants to push private label peanut butter. The captain's plan leaves 2 lower shelf facings for the 16-ounce, none at eye level. The distributor's schedule delivers the national brand 3 times a week. The private label arrives once, so on-shelf availability lags. The contract's rebate tiers rely on national brand volume, so any switch hurts the year-end check. The manager runs a quiet 10% discount on private label. Sales lift, but the national brand counter-programs with a loyalty-only 20% off 2 weeks later. Shoppers see the promo badge and revert. The experiment ends with a memo, stay inside plan. That dynamic mirrors concerns raised in FTC discussions about category captaincy shaping placement and promotions. Retailers aren't passive in this. Some extract better terms or carve space for store brands, but the default bias runs toward stability at a higher level. The playbook is effective because it blends logistics, contracts, shelf design, and psychology. No single move feels decisive, but together they manufacture pricing power. You feel it as fewer honest bargains, more fancy sublines, and a nagging sense that the base price never truly comes back down. You feel it at checkout every week. Next, we'll track one staple's journey, so you can see each lever hit a single product you buy. The household staple that quietly doubled. Let's follow 1 jar of peanut butter, the 16-ounce creamy national brand you've bought for years. In 2019, the everyday shelf price hovered around $2.49, with regular promos dropping it to $1.99 every 6 to 8 weeks. In 2024, the label looks familiar, the placement looks the same, but the jar is 14 or even 13 ounces. The sticker reads $3.79, and those deep promos? They're thinner, rarer, and often locked behind a loyalty app. Start with the unit math. In 2019, $2.49 for 16 ounces was about 15.6 cents an ounce. Today, $3.79 for 14 ounces is 27.1 cents an ounce. That's a 74% jump per ounce, even though the sticker didn't double. Where'd the extra come from? First, list price ratchets framed as cost coverage, peanuts, packaging, freight. Then, pack size trims to hold a psychological price point under $4. Finally, promotions retreat, so your chances to snag the old effective price shrink. Under the lid, margins tell a story. Peanut input costs spiked during the supply snarls and then eased. Packaging and freight saw the same arc. But the brand's reported gross margins expanded as those inputs cooled. That gap shows up on your receipt as the missing promo and the smaller jar. Meanwhile, the retailer's total category margin relies on vendor funding, allowances, and rebates. So passing the shrink through feels safer than picking a price fight that risks the year-end check. Watch how the shelf choreography reinforces it. The category captain's planogram keeps the national brand at eye level with 4 facings. The private label sits lower with 2. End cap space goes to a Protein Plus line extension at an even higher price per ounce, nudging the mix toward premium. When the national brand raises list price, rivals meet the market. The private label could undercut, but its facings and delivery cadence limit how much demand it can absorb without outs. Promos are the tell. In 2019, you saw a BOGO or a clean 25% off drop on a predictable rhythm. Now you see $1 off with card, 2 weeks a quarter, sometimes tied to a 2-jar buy. Realized prices stay elevated because the brand targets discounts surgically at likely buyers instead of cutting the open shelf. The ad looks generous. The average rung through the register barely moves. Retailers try to thread the needle. They'll run a 10% private label week, but the distributor's minimums and chargebacks make aggressive experimentation costly. Miss a threshold, lose a rebate. Run an unapproved promo, get a bill. The result is caution. Keep the plan, protect the back-end incentives, and let the national brand carry the aisle economics. Here's the 30-second validation. Look at dairy spreads and sliced cheese. Package sizes drift from 8 ounces to 7.5, from 8 count to 7 count, while per ounce prices climb and promos arrive with loyalty gating. Packaged meat shows the same pattern in bacon and deli. Ounce trims, fewer aggressive discounts, premium sublines doing the heavy lifting. This isn't a peanut butter one-off. It's the playbook across perimeter and center store. Back to the jar. Your basket feels heavier in cost because the per-unit math rose, the promo ladder shortened, and the mix skewed premium. Multiply that by 40 items on a weekly list: cereal, yogurt, deli, cleaning supplies, and the grocery bill climbs without a single dramatic tag change. The trap works because it hides in details shoppers aren't paid to track. Multiply that by 40 items, and you get a grocery bill that feels rigged. The illusion of choice, why switching stores doesn't fix it. You leave one chain frustrated and drive across town to another banner. New logo, new paint, new app. The first trip feels better, different end caps, a couple of quirky brands, a sharper price on milk. 2 weeks later, your basket is the same cost. Here's why. Behind the signs, many stores buy from the same upstream vendors. The cereal in aisle 5 comes from the same handful of brand owners. The yogurt cups trace back to the same processors. Even store brands often come from the same contract manufacturers. The labels change, the factories don't. So unless a retailer is willing to take a margin hit, the realized price per ounce settles into a narrow range. Distribution makes it tighter. The trucks might show different logos, but they often load from the same regional hubs. Those hubs run on national contracts with access fees, minimums, and fuel surcharges that don't care what your store's sign says. When one chain raises list price after a vendor cost letter, neighbors meet the market because the same carrier network and chargebacks shape their invoices. Different banners, same gatekeepers. Here's the human version. A shopper in the Midwest splits trips between 2 rival chains. She swears one is cheaper for staples. A price log over 8 weeks tells another story. The mix is different. This chain has a buy 2 cereal deal. That one discounts yogurt, but her per ounce. Math on the full basket converges. Promotions trade places. 1 week, The blue banner wins. Next week, the red. The totals drift inside a narrow corridor set upstream. Private label looks like a way out, but constraints follow. Many store brands are sourced from the same giants that make national brands, or from contract plants tied to the same distributors. If a retailer pushes too fast, they hit capacity ceilings or run into contract clauses that throttle overlap with a national line. And the planogram written with the category captain quietly caps private label facings to protect vendor funding. You can find value in specific categories, broth, flour, sugar, but it's not a universal escape hatch. Price matching. It's often an illusion of precision. SKUs differ by an ounce or a suffix, family, value, club, making exact matches rare. A chain can claim parity while steering you to packs with higher per ounce costs. You feel taken care of when a cashier honors a screenshot. The system recoups it with an unadvertised size shift or a promo that requires 2 units. The aisle becomes a maze of almost the same items designed to neutralize head-to-head price cuts. Loyalty programs complicate it further. Personalized offers feel like savings, but they lift averages by discounting only targeted items to likely buyers. The open shelf price, the anchor that would pressure rivals, stays high. Across town, the other chain runs the same play, just with different digital banners. 2 shoppers can stand in the same aisle and pay 2 different realized prices, while the brand's average stays elevated in both stores. Unknown to most shoppers, most favored nation clauses in supplier contracts discourage one chain from breaking ranks with a deep discount because it triggers matching rights elsewhere. Volume rebates also push retailers to behave alike. Miss a year-end threshold and your cost rises. So even a manager with the will to compete finds the math stacked against a rogue price cut. The safe path is synchronized restraint dressed up as different weekly offers. Regional dominance narrows options without you noticing. In some metro areas, a pair of banners controls most conventional grocery. At a club store and a supercenter, and you think you've got variety. But for many pantry categories, the same national suppliers set the corridor and the same distributors move the cases. The outliers, independents and ethnic markets, often buy through those same hubs, absorbing the same surcharges. Their advantage, when it appears, comes from different assortments and faster pricing decisions, not a separate cost universe. Here's a microstory. A dad chases chicken breast deals across 3 stores. He wins a few weeks, then loses on produce and snacks because the deal chain runs thin promos elsewhere. His month-end total matches the store he abandoned. He didn't fail, the structure did its job. Wins in one category are offset by quiet lift in others, guided by planograms and digital offers that keep realized prices inside target bands. So does switching never work? It works when you step outside the shared pipelines, buying clubs, co-ops, CSAs, ethnic wholesalers open to the public, or when you're ruthless about unit math and promo timing. But moving between banners that feed on the same upstream contracts is like changing lanes in slow traffic. You feel motion, you arrive at the same time. If the front door is blocked, you need a side entrance, outside the cartel. Consumer Playbook Part 1. Immediate savings that actually work. If the main road is tolled, we take the side streets. Start with bulk, but do it with a calculator, not vibes. True bulk lowers the price per ounce and fits your life. Fake bulk is just a jumbo box at a higher unit cost. Build a habit, snap a photo of the unit price tag, or run the math on your phone. You're looking for at least 15 to 30% unit savings versus the regular size pack. If the value pack doesn't beat that, leave it, and only bulk what you'll finish or freeze. Pasta, rice, beans, flour, oil, sugar, oats, canned tomatoes, great bulk staples. Chips, cereal, snacks, often engineered value that isn't value. Next, cut the middle with direct from farm. Community-supported agriculture and meat shares move you around the distribution toll booths. A CSA box in season can drop produce costs by a quarter to nearly half compared with retail, with fresher quality that lasts longer in your fridge. That extra day or 2 before spoilage is cash you don't throw away. For protein, find a quarter or half animal share with a local processor. The upfront check stings, but your per pound price for roasts, ground, and stew cuts undercuts the case by a mile. Split with a neighbor if the freezer's small. Co-ops and ethnic markets are the overlooked lanes. Co-ops pool buying power for members. You pay a small equity or annual fee, then shop closer to wholesale on staples and bulk bins. The savings show up quietly, spices by the ounce instead of a $6 jar, beans and rice at near warehouse pricing without the membership upsell. Ethnic grocers run on different supplier networks. Produce turns fast, meat counters cut in-house, and pantry basics. Lentils, basmati, tortillas, soy sauce. Price sharper because trade spend isn't bloated. Build a routine. One mainstream trip, one ethnic market, one co-op or bulk run per month. Private label works, selectively. In commodities where formulas are standardized, store brands match quality and smash the price. Flour, sugar, salt, canned veg, broth, butter, cream cheese, paper goods. Where texture and formulation carry the experience, some cereals, condiments, snack chips test first. Your rule: default to private label in 10 safe categories, then step up only where the brand wins clearly on taste or nutrition. Don't let brand habit set your budget. Promo calendar hacking is where the real money hides. Most center store items cycle every 6 to 8 weeks. Build a tiny price log, 10 items you always buy. Record the regular shelf price, the promo depth when it appears, and the date. After 2 months, a pattern emerges. Stock during the real promo, 20% plus off for shelf-stable, 30 to 40% for canned and dry goods, and buy enough to bridge to the next one. If a brand runs only loyalty-gated discounts, decide if the hoop is worth it. Sometimes, the private label on a true promo beats a personalized offer. Learn to spot fake promotions. 2 for $5 on a $2.49 item is nothing new. If the per unit price isn't posted, divide in your head. Look at the smallest packs per ounce math. It often hides the worst value. If the promo requires 2 or more, ask whether you'll consume it before quality drops. The rule: never buy more units to chase pennies that turn into waste. Use price logs to avoid traps. Loyalty-only promos push you to scan, click, and accept a higher baseline the rest of the month. Track the lowest real price you've paid in the last quarter and set that as your floor. If today's deal isn't at or below your floor, skip it. Stores count on you for getting the low. A 5-line note on your phone beats their memory every time. Bulk arbitrage plus storage is your force multiplier. A $22 25-pound bag of rice in a sealed bin turns into months of anchor meals. A case of canned tomatoes bought at a case discount becomes sauces, soups, and stews without emergency runs. Invest once in decent storage. Food-safe bins, mason jars, labels. FIFO, first in, first out, keeps freshness and protects the win you just banked. Direct proteins need a freezer plan. If you can't swing a chest freezer, split shares with a friend or rotate smaller packs. 10 pounds of chicken thighs when the case drops. Grind beef by the family pack, reportion, and freeze flat. Batch cook and freeze portions so convenience doesn't drag you back to full-priced prepared foods later. Co-ops often publish case schedules. Team up with 2 families, split cases, and hit wholesale tiers the store can't touch. Dry goods, nut butters, olive oil, coffee. Case splits deliver real unit savings. Rotate who fronts the order. Track your unit cost in that same price log, so you know when a retail promo actually beats the case. Finally, stack tools lightly. Use one price tracking app, one CSA locator, and one co-op calendar. Set 3 alerts: olive oil, coffee, and your kids' cereal. Too many alerts turns into noise. 3 essentials keep you focused. The aim isn't couponing as a second job. It's rerouting 5 to 10 items a week off the toll road and onto cheaper pavement. Short-term wins help, but structural fixes decide next year's bill. Consumer Playbook Part 2, Defensive Shopping Tactics. Now we shift from big wins to week-in, week-out defense. Start with unit economics. Make price per ounce a reflex. Ignore the big, friendly front number. Scan for that tiny per unit tag, or do the math yourself. If the shelf hides unit pricing or the packs aren't comparable, force comparability. Convert everything to ounces or pounds in your notes. Your rule: buy only when the per unit price beats your personal floor, not when the sticker feels lower. Pack size traps show up right beside unit math. Shrinkflation isn't just smaller boxes, it's engineered steps between sizes. The value bag can be priced to look cheaper per unit than the small, yet worse than the medium. Calculate the new normal for each category you buy, your baseline per ounce after the latest size change, and don't assume the biggest is best. If the family size doesn't beat the medium by at least 10 to 15% on unit price, skip it. If the smallest beats all others on a real promo, clear it out and move on. Engineer your basket around elasticity. High elasticity items, snacks, soda, branded cereal, swing wildly with promos. Anchor meals on loss leaders, chicken thighs, pork shoulder, beans, pasta, in-season produce, and treat the volatile stuff as optional add-ons only when they hit your floor. Build a simple, weekly cadence: 1 anchor protein, 1 pot of beans or lentils, 1 starch, 2 rotating veg. That pattern soaks up the best deals and keeps you from filling the cart with premium convenience items that blow up the average. The freezer is your friend, but only if you treat it like inventory. Buy fresh at peak promo, portion immediately, label with date and weight, and freeze flat. A flat-packed pound of ground beef thaws in minutes and saves a panic by later. Batch cook base layers, rice, beans, roasted veg, and freeze in meal-sized trays. You're creating future convenience so you don't pay full freight for tonight's emergency. Rotate everything FIFO, first in, first out, so your savings don't die behind a frosted mystery container. Subscription traps look helpful and quietly steal margin. The algorithm nudges you toward a schedule that fits their warehouse, not your pantry. Cancel and reprice every second cycle. Treat subscriptions as placeholders to prevent stockouts, not as the final price. Before each shipment, check your floor list and recent promos. If the subscription price isn't beating the street, skip it. Beware convenience markups on heavy staples, detergent, pet food, paper, where delivery costs sneak into the price. Use decoys to protect your floor. Keep 1 backup brand or pack size at a known low unit cost in each category. When your preferred brand refuses to cross your floor, you switch to the decoy automatically. That credible threat, even if it's just for a month, teaches you to detach from labels that rely on habit to hold price. If the promo never returns, make the decoy the default and save the brand for rare splurges. Time your perishables. In-season produce beats almost any loyalty gimmick. Build a simple rotation by month. Citrus and hardy greens in winter, asparagus and berries in spring, tomatoes and stone fruit in summer, squash and apples in fall. When prices spike off-season, pivot to frozen veg and fruit, which often undercut fresh on unit price and reduce waste. Waste is reverse inflation. Every wilted bunch is money you paid for and didn't eat. Guard checkout with a 2-minute audit. Before you tap to pay, scan for add-ons that erased your unit wins. Premium beverages, single-serve snacks, novelty condiments. Keep 1 swap list in your notes. Cheap replacements that preserve the meal plan. Swap sparkling water for home carbonated, specialty yogurt for plain plus fruit. $5 bagged salad for a head of romaine and a knife. Small swaps fix margin creep. Finally, run quarterly audits. Recalculate your floor prices on your top 20 items, update pack size notes, and refresh your decoys. Categories drift. Your playbook has to move with them. If promos shift to loyalty only in a category, either play the game aggressively for a stock-up window or exit to your decoy until an honest price returns. Defense isn't glamorous. It's discipline, unit math, freezer inventory, basket design, and a hard stop at your floor. The policy fight, rebuilding antitrust for groceries. Policy is slow, but it's the lever that changes the rules of the game. For 40 years, the rulebook bent toward efficiency. If a merger promised lower costs, it passed. If price tags didn't spike immediately, regulators shrugged. That's how we got here. Fewer gatekeepers, tighter contracts, and prices that ratchet up faster than they come down. Rebuilding antitrust isn't about punishing scale. It's about restoring the power to say no when prices drift up together. Start with why enforcement went quiet. Courts narrowed antitrust to a single lens: short-term consumer prices. Harms like buyer power over suppliers, wage pressure on workers, and the ability to set acceptable pricing corridors got treated as side issues. The result was a long parade of mergers that made supply chains lean and bargaining tables smaller. When shocks hit, those lean chains snapped toward higher prices and fewer promos, and there weren't enough rivals left to pressure them down. Now the pendulum's moving. We've seen real pushback on mega mergers in grocery retail. Regulators didn't just argue higher prices. They also pointed to harms for workers and the loss of head-to-head competition in local markets. The message is simple. When big chains merge, shoppers lose leverage, workers lose bargaining power, and the remaining rivals gain room to move prices in parallel. Blocking consolidation at the store level keeps local battlegrounds alive. The FTC's successful challenge to the proposed Kroger, Albertsons tie-up in 2024 reflects this shift. But retail is only the front. Upstream is where power locks in. Meatpacking has been concentrated for decades. Dairy processing followed regional roll-ups, center store brands combined under global parents. Agricultural agencies are targeting fairness in those segments. Updated packers and stockyards rules and competition initiatives to open market access for smaller processors, plus grants for local and regional meat and produce facilities. That work matters because it adds new routes to shelf that don't run through the same tolls. Here's the grocery-specific toolkit that needs teeth. First, scrutiny of slotting fees and pay-to-stay. Charging rent for a shelf isn't always illegal, but in essentials it can wall off competition. Regulators can define where those fees cross into exclusion, especially when they force smaller brands or private labels out of eye level and into oblivion. In parallel, category captaincy needs bright lines. Let brands provide data. Don't let them write the rules for rival placement, promo timing, or delists in staples. In essentials, consider a ban on the practice outright. Congress and the FTC have both floated greater transparency around these mechanisms. Past hearings documented retaliation fears around slotting fees. Second, contract transparency. Most favored nation clauses and back-end volume rebates sound harmless and can freeze price competition. Require disclosure of clauses that suppress targeted discounting or penalize experimentation. Mandate standardized reporting on realized prices and promotion depth by category, so regulators can see when promo pullbacks turn into industry-wide margin lifts despite lower input costs. Think of it as seatbelts for pricing power. Not price controls, but guardrails and headlights. Third, data power. Scanner data and loyalty programs are now the operating system for the aisle. Require privacy-safe, aggregated disclosures that let agencies audit cost pass-through when input prices fall. If freight and packaging costs drop, where's the promo depth? If it's missing, regulators can spotlight categories where sticky baselines look like tacit follow the leader. Sunshine isn't a headline. It's leverage for enforcers and cover for retailers who want to compete harder. Several bills have proposed transparency on realized prices and algorithmic pricing practices. Fourth, independent lifelines. The structure won't change if every case rides the same trucks. Financing for co-ops and small chains to join or build shared distribution hubs. Grants and loan guarantees for regional processing, produce packing, dairy bottling, small animal slaughter, to reconnect local supply with local retail. Encourage state and municipal food hubs with cold storage and cross-docking so independents can pool volume and negotiate better terms. The point isn't nostalgia, it's options. Fifth, merger review upstream. Don't just count brands, count gates. If a distributor tie-up reduces alternative routes in a region, treat it like a price rise waiting to happen. If a CPG merger puts multiple adjacent categories under one parent with unified trade spend and data, consider how that portfolio power shapes planograms and promo calendars across aisles. The standard is straightforward. Would this deal reduce a retailer's credible ability to walk away? There's also room for targeted rules in essentials. Ban exclusivity that blocks private label growth in staple categories. Prohibit loyalty-only pricing on WIC-eligible items, so the open shelf price stays honest where it matters most. Require clear, comparable unit pricing down to the ounce or count, even when pack sizes and suffixes vary, so shoppers can actually see the game. Enforcement isn't the only lever. Public procurement can seed alternatives. Cities and school districts can write contracts that preference regional processors and co-op distributors, helping them reach volume thresholds that make them viable for retail, too. Technical assistance, templates for fair supplier contracts, shared IT for independence, levels the playing field without dictating prices. Finally, keep the signal strong. When a merger threatens local competition, challenge it. When contract terms suppress discounting, investigate. When promo pullbacks persist after costs fall, ask why. Policy is slow. Wall Street moves fast. So regulators need simple, repeatable rules that make the default safer for shoppers. Not central planning, just a market where the price can actually fall when costs do, and where enough rivals exist to make it happen. Recent court actions and rule updates show the tools exist. They need consistent use. Human stories, the checkout line math. Get this, on a Thursday night, Maria stands at self-checkout with 2 kids and a list she's memorized. She removes strawberries, adds bananas, swaps brand yogurt for store brand. The total still jumps $5 over last week. She laughs without humor and says, "We'll stretch the chicken." The stretch means soup tomorrow instead of tacos, and cereal for dinner once this week if overtime doesn't come through. Across town, David is 71 and shops with a folded index card, protein, greens, meds. He lingers at the meat case, then picks eggs and a bag of lentils. He used to buy salmon on Sundays. Now he tells the cashier he's cutting back. He doesn't mention his doctor's note about muscle loss. At home, he halves portions and makes up the difference with bread. Meanwhile, Alicia scans end caps for the cereal her son will actually eat. The cartoon box isn't on promo. She drops it anyway because it keeps mornings calm. The private label version is cheaper but sparks a fight. She compromises by shrinking the rest of the cart. One less snack, smaller juice, no sparkling water. The real cost isn't the box. It's the trade she makes to buy silence before school. While that's happening in the aisle, Jamal, an assistant manager, stares at an ad plan with empty promo slots. Vendor funding is thin. He's told to hold margin. He cuts an end cap idea he knows customers love because the rebate target matters more. He dreads the weekend when regulars ask why BOGO's vanished. He'll explain nothing and absorb the glare. Unknown to shoppers, Erin at a small independent grocer is fighting her distributor invoice. A chargeback hit because she promoted a local salsa without pre-approval. The fee wiped out her week's profit on that category. She can't run the sharp milk price her customers post about on Facebook because a volume rebate would slip if she shifts mix. She considers raising prices quietly and hates that it might keep a retiree away. 3 hours outside the city, Luis runs a family dairy. Feed is up, diesel is up, and the processor's price hasn't kept pace. He signs paperwork he can't negotiate and watches his calendar for a cost bump that might not arrive. He sells a calf to make a note payment and tells his daughter college is still the plan. He hopes the truck shows on time. One missed pickup wrecks the week. Here's the math at the register. Parents trade protein for starch to keep the total under a number they set 6 months ago. Seniors cut portions and say it's for light eating. Store workers stretch shifts and apologize for prices they don't choose. Independents choose between promo creativity and financial penalties. Farmers swallow costs they can't pass through and get told to scale without new buyers. Now remember the structure you've seen. Fewer gatekeepers, tighter contracts, and a ratchet that sticks. These are the people living inside its outcomes. A $5 jump means a skipped yogurt. A missing promo means one more cart abandoned mid-aisle. A chargeback means a canceled community event the store usually sponsors. We've mapped the trap. Now assemble the exit strategy. Financialization. How Wall Street incentivizes higher prices. Policy is slow, capital is immediate. In earnings season, you can hear it in the questions. Analysts don't ask, when do prices come down? They ask, what's the plan for margin expansion? That framing turns groceries into a spreadsheet game, and your pantry becomes where the numbers are met. In 2023 to 2024, many large CPGs reported improved gross margins, even as some input costs eased, underscoring the shift from volume to price/mix. Start with the scoreboard. Executive compensation is tied to operating margin, EPS growth, total shareholder return, and sometimes market share. Volume matters, but it's a junior partner. Price and mix, charging more per unit and steering buyers into higher margin variants, move the needle fastest. If the board wants EPS up 8% and volumes are flat, the practical lever is realized price. That's how premiumization becomes a strategy, not a slogan. Major CPG's proxy statements in recent years weight operating income and EPS heavily, reinforcing price/mix focus. Buybacks sharpen the pressure. When a company spends billions retiring shares, each remaining share earns more of the profit. The cleanest way to feed that loop is margin expansion. Raise list prices, cut trade spend, trim promotions, and protect gross margin as input costs ease. Investment in capacity or quality pays off slowly. A promo you don't run hits EPS this quarter. Rewards follow immediacy. Now look inside the quarterly ritual. Before 202, brands bought market share with discounts. After the supply shocks, they discovered something. Shoppers tolerated higher baselines longer than expected. Input costs eased, but investors had seen what pricing could do for margins. So managements told Wall Street they'd be disciplined on promotions and optimize trade spend. The subtext: the old BOGOs aren't coming back at the same depth because the margin line can't afford it. Private equity runs a tighter version. A roll-up buys mid-tier manufacturers, stacks debt, promises synergies, and sets targets that live in covenants. Interest payments don't care about shopper fatigue. Price and mix must do the work. Plants are rationalized, SKUs streamlined, and trade budgets reallocated away from broad discounts toward targeted offers that lift realized price. If an acquired brand can't hit the operating margin grid, it's cut or repositioned into a premium tier. Meanwhile, the street narrative celebrates pricing power. Reports applaud companies that successfully offset inflation and delivered positive price/mix. In plain English, that means they kept prices higher than costs. When costs later decline, the same companies get credit for holding the line. It's rational inside the market. It's pressure at your register. Trade spend becomes a faucet. In tight quarters, the CFO turns it down to protect quarterly EPS. Promotions dry up across categories not because shoppers stopped wanting them, but because the comp plan weights margin more than volume. A few months later, analysts praise healthy revenue per unit. The cause and effect lives in an incentive spreadsheet nobody outside the building sees. Distributors and retailers react to the same drumbeat. Public grocers face investors too. Thin operating margins make them hypersensitive to any move that risks the vendor funding pool. So even if a merchant wants to break ranks with a sharp cut to win loyalty, the back-end rebate math and quarterly optics say wait. You'll see a burst of promos at quarter end, not because costs fell, but because thresholds must be hit. It's a calendar-driven sale, not a market-driven price. Here's a micro-story from inside a planning meeting. A CPG revenue management team reviews the quarter. Volumes are soft, margins strong. A brand manager floats a deep promo to regain share. Finance runs the model. The discount would blow the gross margin KPI and jeopardize EPS guidance. The recommendation shifts to a targeted digital offer and a premium line extension with added protein claims. The headline becomes innovation. The outcome is a higher average price. Another, a retailer's category VP debates end cap funding with a top supplier. The supplier proposes fewer, shallower promos tied to a larger year-end rebate. The VP knows shoppers want the old BOGO back, but the rebate plugs a gap in the P&L the board will question next month. He accepts the structure and instructs stores to push loyalty-gated deals. The aisle looks active. The realized price doesn't break. Public grocers' thin operating margins make vendor funding pivotal in quarterly optics. Financial engineering hardens the floor. When investors expect steady buybacks and rising dividends, free cash flow must stay fat. Cutting price to chase volume threatens that flow. So companies squeeze productivity. Fewer ounces, lighter packaging, streamlined SKUs. Each tweak preserves pennies per unit. Across millions of units, those pennies fund the payout schedule. This is why input relief doesn't automatically reset shelf tags. The organization is pointed at protecting gross margin and EPS, and every lever, price, pack, promo, mix, answers to that aim. It's not a secret meeting, it's routine governance. The result is predictable. When costs rise, prices go up fast. When costs fall, prices drift down, if at all, and promotions return carefully, because a misstep shows up in next quarter's comp call. When profits become the product, the household budget absorbs the spread. Your pushback, switching, stockpiling on true promos, stepping outside the pipelines, creates small pockets of discipline. But the wider system won't bend on goodwill. It bends when incentives change, when alternative routes scale, and when the scoreboard measures something besides margin expansion. That's the work ahead. The exit strategy, a practical path that scales. We've mapped the trap. Now build the exit in layers: personal, community, local policy, national push, plus a light tech layer to hold it together. Start small, then stack. Personal first. Run a 70/20/10 grocery plan. 70% of your cart becomes bulk and direct staples: rice, beans, oats, pasta, flour, oil, canned tomatoes, frozen veg, eggs when they dip, and proteins bought on real promos or via shares. 20% rides weekly promos for perishables: produce, dairy, bread, only at or below your floor. 10% is splurge: the brand cereal, the better chocolate, the sauce that makes dinner easy. The split disciplines impulse and shields most of your basket from the toll roads. Make it concrete. Pick 12 anchor items you'll always stock: a 25-pound rice bag in a sealed bin, a flat of canned tomatoes, 5 pounds of dry beans, 2 family packs of chicken thighs portioned and frozen, coffee when it hits the lowest price in your log, 2 oils, neutral and olive, only on honest deals. Rotate the list by season so produce tracks abundance, not craving. You're building a pantry that turns promos into inventory, not tonight's save. Layer community next. Organize a buying club with neighbors or coworkers. It doesn't need bylaws. It needs a shared spreadsheet, a monthly text thread, and 1 pickup rotation. The club splits cases, olive oil, nut butters, coffee, flour, and hits wholesale tiers independents use. Members pay at cost plus a small delivery split. The play scales because the club floats outside the planogram. You buy from co-ops, regional distributors willing to sell to groups, or directly from producers. Co-op membership equity, $50 to $200 one time, opens catalogs with real unit savings and patronage refunds when there's surplus. Here's the impact you can expect when it's working. Buying clubs and co-ops typically trim 8 to 20% off a conventional basket over a quarter. CSA season cuts produce spend 25 to 40% while improving quality and shelf life. Case splits move premium pantry items below mainstream retail, even on promo. Dividends at the end of the year, small but real, prove you captured margin that would have fed trade spend. Add local policy to widen the lane. Push your city to back a food hub. Shared cold storage, cross-docking, and last-mile logistics that independents and buying clubs can tap. It's an economic development play. Jobs, small business lifelines, not a subsidy. Ask for independent-friendly zoning that allows small grocers, co-op pickup points, and micro-warehouses in mixed-use corridors. Encourage school districts and city agencies to write contracts that preference regional processors and co-op distributors. Volume unlocks viability. Viability multiplies routes around the tolls. At the national level, show up on the record when mega mergers are proposed. Submit a short public comment. 5 lines about local choice and promo depth matter more than you think. Back rules that curb slotting fees and category captaincy in essentials. Support transparency standards that require clear unit pricing and basic, privacy-safe reporting on promo depth and realized prices. These aren't price controls. They're guardrails that let honest competition work when costs fall. Tie it together with a light tech layer. Use a price tracking tool to watch your top 20 SKUs and set alerts at your floor. Map nearby CSAs, co-ops, ethnic wholesalers, and discount produce markets. Save their calendars. Keep a shared document for your buying club with simple fields. Item, case size, per unit cost, next order window. Avoid tool sprawl. 3 apps, not 13. 1 for price alerts, 1 for maps and calendars, 1 shared sheet. Guard against clawbacks. When your bulk and direct wins raise free cash flow at home, retailers will try to reclaim it with convenience. Hold your 70/20/10 split. If splurge creeps up, cut it next week without guilt. Set a floor price list and carry it. If your favorite brand refuses to cross the floor after a quarter, demote it to splurge or decoy. Run pantry FIFO like a business, labels and dates, because waste is reverse inflation. Build momentum with tiny rituals. Sunday night, scan the week's loss leaders and set 2 anchor meals. Monday, check your price alerts for the 3 big items that swing your month. Thursday, confirm the buying club list and payment. Monthly, rotate through 1 alternative lane, co-op order, CSA pickup, ethnic market run. Quarterly, audit floors, retire zombie subscriptions, and renegotiate 1 recurring expense with a cancel and reprice. Teach the play to 1 other household. Pair a new buyer with your next case split. Share your floor list and freezer chart. Post 1 price per ounce win, not a rant, and tag the co-op or farm. The network grows by proof, not preaching. This scales because it's modular. 1 family running 70/20/10 saves quietly. 10 families form a buying club and pressure local pricing. A city with a food hub and independent-friendly zoning creates new routes that retailers must respect. National guardrails make it easier for stores to compete on price without losing vendor funding. The pieces reinforce each other. Personal discipline, shared logistics, public infrastructure, and simple rules that let prices fall when costs do. There's one more thing. How to keep your savings from getting clawed back. Guardrails, keep savings from disappearing. You've built the exit. Now keep it from leaking. Start with trade-down traps. When you switch to private label and bulk, the aisle tries to sell back the margin with add-ons, premium beverages, novelty sauces, single-serve snacks. Set a weekly rule: 2 discretionary items max. If you add a splurge, remove another. Guard the 70/20/10 split you set. Don't let reward, spend erase unit wins. Lock in floor prices by category. Make a simple list: coffee, olive oil, cereal, yogurt, detergent, paper towels, chicken thighs, rice, beans, canned tomatoes, eggs, milk, bananas. 15 items that swing your month. For each, record the lowest price per ounce you paid in the last quarter. That's your floor. Buy at or below that, or wait. If a brand doesn't cross the floor for 90 days, demote it to splurge or switch to your decoy. Floors are discipline you can carry in your pocket. Meal planning cadence keeps the cart honest. Each week, set 2 anchor meals tied to loss leaders. Chicken thighs become tacos and soup. Pork shoulder becomes pulled sandwiches and fried rice. Beans and lentils become chili and dal. Fill around those anchors with in-season produce and a simple starch. This shrinks the space for impulse. You're not improvising in front of an end cap. You're executing a plan built from the ad. Pantry rotation stops reverse inflation. Waste is money leaving your house. Label everything date, weight, and category, and shelf it FIFO. First in, first out. Keep 1 small open bin for partial packs. Finish them before opening a new case. Once a month, run a zero-based week. Cook only from freezer and pantry, buying only fresh veg and dairy. You'll clear older stock and see where you overbought. Shrinkflation detection becomes a habit. Watch pack sizes and suffixes: family, value, club. Recalculate per ounce when a line changes count or ounces. Update your floors accordingly. If the new family size doesn't beat your medium pack by at least 10 to 15% per unit, skip it. If a 2-4 promo forces you above your consumption rate, buy 1 at the posted per unit price and keep margin. Subscriptions get a leash. Treat them as a convenience backstop, not a price strategy. Before each shipment, check your floor and recent promos. If the subscription price is above your floor, pause. Every second cycle, cancel and reprice to reset discounts. Heavy goods, detergent, pet food, paper, hide convenience markups. Verify unit costs against warehouse or co-op options before you let a truck deliver your margin. Quarterly audit, always. Once every 3 months, review your top 20 items. Update floors, confirm pack sizes, retire zombie subscriptions, and refresh your decoy brands. If promos in a category shift to loyalty only, decide. Play aggressively for a stock-up window or exit until an honest open-shelf deal returns. Your aim isn't perfect timing. It's avoiding death by 1,000 quiet lifts. Protect your basket at checkout with a 2-minute audit. Scan the bottom of the cart: single-serve, beverage, deli convenience. Keep a swap list in notes. Sparkling water to home carbonated, flavored yogurt to plain plus fruit, bagged salad to whole heads, premium sauce to canned tomatoes plus spice. Swap 3 items, and you often reclaim $5 or $10 you just lost to convenience. Use small rituals to hold the line. Sunday night, set 2 anchor meals. Monday, glance at alerts for coffee, oil, and cereal. Thursday, finalize the buying club order. Put your floor list on your phone's lock screen for a week when you're tempted to drift. Teach 1 other household. Run a case split together. Discipline scales faster when it's shared. These guardrails don't ask you to live in spreadsheets. They turn a few repeat moves into muscle memory. You already built cheaper lanes. This keeps your savings from bleeding back to the tolls. Resolution and broader meaning. You're not overpaying for food. You're paying for market power packaged as efficiency and choice. If you want the full savings workbook and the policy action kit, subscribe and watch the next episode on the farmland price pipeline. Share this with the person who does the weekly shop. The more households that run the playbook, the less the toll roads can charge.